This video is about boats people have, particularly this one is about the boats I've had over the years that I've sailed on the Dee. We sailed many boats, but these are the type of boats. So if you're looking for a boat, these are some of the things that I found when buying boats and particular issues I've had with them and the good things about them as well. A range of boats. These are all other people's boats. I'll go on to talk about mine in a minute. But as somebody says, the boat you buy, you don't choose the boat chooses you. And that's dependent on one, your budget, and two, where you're going to sail it and what you're going to use it for. And that helped me pick a lot of the boats I went for, except the last one I've now got, which I chose when I was under heavy medication, but that's another story. You'll see all of that as we go through this video. Thanks for watching. Hi, this video is about what type of boat I've chosen, reasons why I chose it, and how good it was for my purpose at the time. Starting with the Lysander, that was a great boat, and it was one that I could afford. It was cheap, it was made out of plywood, and I had a great time on it to learn to sail. Very basic, very comfortable sailing, didn't go out in any rough weather at all, just stayed locally on the River Dee. But the main thing was it was easy to use, easy to put on and take off the water, weighed a lot more than your fiberglass equivalent size boat, but it did exactly the job I wanted it to do. The reason why I got shut of it basically was because I had problems storing it in the winter and then getting to it, and then it started to rot, and it needed a lot of maintenance because it was wood, which unfortunately I didn't have time at that particular moment to be able to do, and that was why I got rid of the Lysander. But good all round, easy to use, good performance and comfortable to sail boat. My next boat was the Fairy Fisherman, a lovely boat, cold moulded, very thick wooden hull. In fact, strongest hull I've ever come across. It actually got dropped in the yard once, and no damage whatsoever, apart from a little scratch on the side. But amazing boat, very comfortable. No keel at all, so rounded hull. We're able to beach on sand, float in very little water, but it was still 26, 28 foot. And it again was all wood, but it was a beautiful boat. Big Perkins 50 horsepower engine, so it's a motor sailor really, but sailed well, and hard to turn into the wind, hard to beat against the wind, but you know, it was a motor sailor and it was a very comfortable boat. I actually bought it to live on, which it did for 5 years, I think it was, at Liverpool Marina, and enjoyed every minute of it. Very rarely went out because that was my first proper boat to go sailing in. Knew nothing about sailing, but found out a lot just by sitting there watching others, going out with us really in Liverpool Marina. But enjoyed that boat thoroughly. Did virtually no maintenance to it because knew nothing about engines. Well, knew nothing about boat engines at that time. Certainly diesel engines. Knew nothing about the maintenance of the rig at all. I replaced the mainsail for an inline furler on the main, and that was great. Never ever used it, but it was good, and never used it to sail with. I used it to try out on many occasions, but that was good. So I learned a lot of skills with that one. what things that can practically go wrong. And then the first sail I did, it proper sail, was from Liverpool to Bangor, where I put it up for sale. And in fact, that was a funny story to be told at another time. But yeah, that was a good day sail through to Bangor in thick fog first of all, but most enjoyable. Good solid boat. Unfortunately, too big to be used at the sailing club, mainly because we wouldn't get up the hill because of her weight and also the size of her. But you know, if you're in a marina or in a bay somewhere, you can moor it all the time. I thought it was an excellent boat. Not a good sailing boat, but a good all-round general purpose boat. My next boat was a Hurley 30. It was actually the first Hurley 30 built. Beautifully boat. Loved it. Again, I bought that to live on at Liverpool Marina, where I had it for about 12 years, I think. And that was just, it sailed beautifully. It would handle most weather comfortably, was good in heavy weather, uh, sailed like a dream. It was the first boat I could let go of the tiller and just let it sail under the sails, and it would steer itself. A beautiful boat. I can't say enough about it. Very spacious inside. For a 30-footer, I suppose, compared to the Westleys, it wasn't that spacious, but certainly did me. And very comfortable, very cozy boat, very easy to handle again, and something that again I sailed many times on the River Mersey, and that was the first time I realised that I couldn't sail against the tide. I came out of the Mersey for the first time and thought, great, I'll sail up to the Three Graces, see the live buildings, and then sail back again. And I was sailing for at least half an hour before I realised I was actually going backwards and not towards the live buildings. But then, you know, you learn your lessons the hard way. But I sailed that a lot. I went out most weekends in it and did a lot of teaching other people to sail a boat around the marina, not sail it, but motor it around the marina. The engine was great. It was a Buck, beautiful, reliable engine, providing you waited about 20 minutes for it to start. But once it was going, it went like a dream. I was told once the only way to get a Buck going was to get a lighted rag and stick it in the intake, air intake, and then starter, because they've got to have warm air. Obviously, it's something I would never ever do or recommend, but you know, putting hot air of some sort into the inlet gets them going in the winter. That was a cozy boat. I used to decorate it at Christmas with lights, and it would stand out in the marina. But I loved that boat. The problem was, for again sailing on the day, one, it was too big, and two, it had a fin keel, so therefore it could only sit in water. Otherwise, it would lie on its side. Didn't fancy that at all. I know some people do it, but not for me. Um, I was told that the D would handle it, because what you can do is ram it into the mud and it will stand up. But you know, it's not something I would fancy. But anyway, um, had that for, as I say, about 12 years, I think, and that was a good learning experience. Easy to walk around, all the winches worked, everything worked on it, and couldn't say enough about it. It was a real pleasure to own that boat. Very sorry to lose it. Unfortunately, one of those things, you know, it cost more to keep in the marina than the benefits I was getting from it. So therefore, that was the only reason I sold it. Otherwise, I would have kept it. Not wanting to give up sailing, I looked around and thought, I need something that can trailer sail, get up to Scotland, and sail around Scotland and everything else. So I decided upon the Leisure 17, now known as Tessa, on the another amazing boat. Chosen for lots of reasons, really. It was small, it was easy to handle, just like a dinghy, and it would sleep Maggie and I, plus two dogs, um, and we'd be able to trailer sail it around the country. So that was an ideal purchase. Excellent for the day, sits well on the sand, can handle reasonable winds, and is very, very comfortable to sail. Very pleased with that boat. It's double shelled, which means double skinned, so it means that it's quite watertight for a number of reasons, but also you tend not to get water that does come in because you've got a skin on top of the hull itself. So that's quite nice, and it's quite an attractive boat. I like the Leisures, and anyway, we had the Leisure 17, and we sailed that a lot on the day. I actually joined the sailing club, thinking of somewhere to put it, and that was a convenient place, very affordable, and it meant that we could trailer sail her up to Scotland, which we did. But that again is another story, and it's written up somewhere in the archives about my adventures trailer sailing the Leisure 17 through the Caledonian Canal. Sailing it was great. Towing it was a nightmare, but I'll tell you that in another story. Um, then we move on to the ideal spec for that boat. It's wide, it's comfortable, lots of room in the cockpit, good room in the cabin. It has a portaloo toilet, and also it's got a cooker, so you can literally camp out in it for a number. Well, we camped out in it for a week with two dogs, and we had a great time. Apart from the only difficult time we had sailing was coming in Loch Lomond, and we were hit by katabatic winds, which are those winds that come down the mountain at twice the speed, three times the speed than any other wind that you're experiencing on the lake. And that hit us like a cannon, and the whole boat went sideways to the point where the sails hit the water. But we bounced straight back up again. The dogs weren't happy, but it was and Maggie certainly wasn't happy, but it was something that was good fun. So yeah, Leisure 17. I'd certainly recommend those as a starter boat, or a boat to keep and look after, because they are a really nice boat, nice to sail, easy to handle, and easy to take on and off the water. Next boat was another Hurley. That's a really nice boat. Hurley Alacrity, which is the 25-foot Hurley, similar to the 24/7, but a bit bigger and a lot more comfortable. To me, again, it was a cracking boat. I bought that while I still had the Hurley 30, but I bought that because she was in Scotland, and my whole dream was to sail around Scotland. So rather than sail up there, which would take a while, I decided that it would be good to have a boat up there and sail around Scotland. Plus, the fees were cheap in Scotland and everything. It was a good club I belonged to, the Solway Yacht Club, and they were fantastic. They were really helpful. I bought her from there, and sailing wise, she was a beautiful boat. Again, like all Hurleys, well built, well structured, handle any weather with relative ease, and this one was no exception to that. Um, the biggest problem I had was the engine. The engine was absolutely knackered, and it took me a while to get it sorted. In fact, again, another story, but when I actually took the engine out, um, took it down to be repaired by professionals, and they said, "Oh yeah, you can see this needs a good job on it. It's never run this, has it?" And I said, "Well, actually, I ran it, taking it off the water. To get it off the water, I had to get back from the mooring, which was really good." But all of those things, I think, as a boat, again, very comfortable to ride, to sail. Sorry, uh, beautiful to go out in heavy weather because it handles really well. And not only that, you don't have a sensation of being in danger in high winds, like all Hurleys. Solid, good to sail boats. Lots of room in the cockpit, plenty of space for 2 or 3 people. Unfortunately, not very good for the day again. Reasonable size, a size we could cope with at the sailing club, but unfortunately the keels are enormous, well over a metre in depth, and it would struggle around the sandbanks. So again, not suitable for the day, I'm afraid. We did take it over to Whitehaven from Scotland, from Kipford, on a pretty blustery day, and that was challenging to say the least, I think, is the phrase I would use, although Maggie would say as scary as hell. But that's another story. I'll tell you about that another time. Leaving that behind, I decided it was good to look for another boat. Again, it was a boat that I thought, well, what do we really want from sailing? So we sat down and thought about it. Um, Tessa was great, and it was quite a nice little boat to sail around and take it easy on and relax. Wanted a more sportier boat, and something that would easily be trailed and put on and off the trailer with ease. One of the things about Tessa, because being a bilge keel, I had to float her onto the trailer, which caused problems, which I will tell you about in the other video. But focusing on Sambella, I decided to get a Sailfish 18, and if anyone follows PBO, Dave Selby, he sails and writes fantastic articles in PBO all about sailing and the experiences he's had in a very humorous way. Well worth reading, well worth getting back copies and reading. He also has a book out which we awarded as a prize one year at the club. But it's a good little book all about sailing, and he talks a lot about the Sailfish 18. Advantages of the Sailfish 18. One, it's a lifting keel, which is also a disadvantage, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Two is that it is a fast, sprightly boat. Lots of room in the cockpit. Quite a lot of room downstairs, to be honest with you, inside the cabin itself. And it again, it sleeps two easily, comfortable for two for a weekend or a week. And it has lots of features that are easy to use. And I say that like the rudder is dead easy. The sails are within easy reach. Everything is within easy reach. Well designed boat, fast as well, with the keel down. And one of the biggest problems with the keel is that it's a straight up and down keel, and that has a tendency to just fall out. And it's a very heavy thing. So if you ever lost one, you would struggle to get it back on the boat and save it. But it's well worth looking at them. The big disadvantage with the Sailfish is that they have no cockpit drain. So if it rains and you don't have a cover over it, and even then, if you leave it for a long time, like now, if you're locked in, and you would have to leave it out there and it started raining, even with a cover, it would start to fill up slowly. I have had the whole of the boat, cockpit that is, because it's quite dry inside. I had the whole cockpit full of water, and she still floated. And they're known for that. You can actually fill the cockpit with water and use it as a swimming pool, but it takes forever to drain. But again, lovely boat, and I finally decided to sell that, mainly because I was after a bit of bigger boat by this time, and Sambella was caused problems by beaching all the time. Obviously, the tide goes out, she sits on the sand, which wasn't that bad a problem, but the bottom starts to get blocked up because it was a lifting keel, and the way that it was a straight up and down lifting keel, therefore it used to get crammed tight with barnacles, and that was creating a problem. So something you would have to look out for if you got one. They are great for the day, but as I say, two disadvantages are: one, barnacles get up inside the keel area; two is that the cockpit will fill with water. It won't sink, but it'll fill with water, and it takes you forever to empty. But a nice boat. Again, quite a few good stories to tell about that one, but that's in a separate video. Having frightened the living daylights out of Maggie on the boat in Scotland, Moireg as we renamed her, I decided it was time to give up sailing, having a boat in Scotland. Also, we were getting used to just sailing on the day, but we wanted to be out more often, and I needed something that would help Maggie relax a bit more after the terrible time we had. So we decided to get a barge, and we continue to have the barge, which is great. It's peaceful, it's relaxing, and it's somewhere we can go over a weekend. We can go, there's no such thing as tides, but at the moment we're locked down because of coronavirus, obviously. But again, it is something that, we found is a good escape, and it satisfies me. It keeps, I'm pleased with it all. Maggie enjoys it, and it's very calm. I think the only time we've had any experience of difficulty is in high winds, but even then they're capable of being handled. So with the boat in Scotland gone, Sambella now sold, what was it going to turn to? Well, it had to be another Hurley. Love the Hurleys, and this is a Hurley Signet Dimidia, or Dim Idea if you read it properly. The other sounds like some form of disease, which I constantly got ribbed about. I got this very, very cheap, and was able to get it, do it up, replace all the headlining as I have with previous boats, replace all the cushions, a horrible green. The whole inside was green. I hated it. And then we finally spruced it up, and that's now in the yard again, and that belongs to Gareth, and it's known as Nomad now, because it used to go floating away on its own on many occasions, because it was not secured or people cut it loose. Hurley 20 or Signet, they are different. Same boat, same hull, just different interior layout. The Signet I absolutely loved. Again, typical Hurley, well built, well laid out, comfortable, easy to sail, fast as well, and would handle big weather, big waves, strong weather, because as with any Hurley, they are built to sail. They are sailing boats. They are proper sailing boats that don't have major problems with big seas. Obviously, this was 20-footer. We had lots of good times in it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great boat. Problem was, managed to get Maggie back to sailing, even though we still had the barge. She quite enjoyed it, but it was quite small if we wanted to go away in it. Again, it's limited. Headroom was limited. Enough space for weekends, but so was the Lysander, so was the Sailfish, and the Signet was just a bit bigger, a bit more comfortable, but a bit crammed as well. So, but she sat well on sand. She's easy to use, good for the conditions on the day, excellent boat to own around the day, and picked them up relatively cheap as well. So, what was next on the list? Well, I discovered Westerlies. This is a Westerly 21. Amazing boat. It's like a TARDIS inside. When I bought it, obviously the headline needed doing, as per all the boats. And I got so used to doing headlining now, didn't even think of it as a problem, so didn't even bargain on that basis. Put new headlining in. This was a great boat because it had headroom. It could sleep four easily, two comfortably, and the dogs, and we would be able to go sailing in it. She sails beautifully. Had a really few good sails on her, and it sits well on the beach again. Builds keel, excellent for the area, excellent boat. Small but large is the way I would describe that one. Small but large is exactly the way to describe her. Small on the outside, huge on the inside. Here we took her to Conway. Beautiful, beautiful sailing day. That's Taffy there, in the background. He came with me, although we did hit a lumpy patch on the way back from Conway, and Taffy fell down the stairs and damaged his rib cage. But apart from that, he was all right, as usual. Good old Taffy. Several boats later, the Westleys I've discovered, and the Westleys were for me. Small but very spacious boats, excellent family boats. You can get two or three people easily. Cockpit was a bit small, and you tended to sit on the winches. I had to design a special seat so I could sit out, because otherwise you're sitting on the winches, and that wasn't always too good. The main sheet was down in the centre of the cockpit floor, and that was quite in the way, and I don't like that. It's something that I decided that is not for me. But sailing wise, really quite a fast little cruiser, very comfortable, very pleasant to sail. Again, I used to sail it quite a lot with just letting go the tiller, set the sails, let go the tiller, and she used to sail herself. Didn't have it to have any particular issues over sailing. She was great little boat. Loved the Wesley 21, and it was a boat I would still have until I had a serious accident, and then I decided, um, okay, I want a boat now that I can just sail, and having been laid up and nothing to do, I looked on the internet and found a boat and went down to Plymouth, no, Lynn on the south coast. Crutches, me head in a splint, a neck brace, and have you ever tried climbing aboard a boat when you're on crutches on your neck and a head brace? Not the easiest thing to do, but that's another story I'll tell you about another time. So what did I buy? I bought a Wesley, another Wesley. It doesn't look like a Wesley, but it is another Wesley, and that is Wesley Spirit. And this is a beautiful boat. I paid the money. Obviously, I had to ask the guy to hold up a mirror so I could see inside the boat because I couldn't get down the stairs. But anyway, this is it. This is the boat I've got now. Bags of room, typical Wesley, lots of room inside, massive headroom, big spacious area, big table, able to accommodate about 6 people, 7 people around the table. The heads are absolutely superb, beautifully laid out. She sails like a dream. But like with every boat, this boat I bought because nothing needed doing to it. But I've ended up replacing all the sails, didn't need to. Replaced the sail drive insides. Did the headlining, didn't need to, but I thought it'd be a good idea. I got so used to doing headliner now. I thought, why not do this one? And it's a boat that sits well on the sand. She has a very narrow rudder. That's the only difficulty, but otherwise she's got a low keels, so she's able to sail in the D with comfort, and she'll handle big weather very well. In fact, we've been out in 25 knots in it, and she sails beautifully. The only thing I would say that is a bit of a downside for the D is the fact that she's got an inboard diesel with a sail drive, and that has proved a bit of a problem. But I think I'm hoping I've cured that now. I will know later on. Otherwise, again, another beautiful boat. Very, very thin compared to all the other boats. If you shine a light on the outside, you will see it through the hull. It is not that easy. In fact, sunlight comes in through the sides of the boat. As I say, one of the biggest boats, well, it is the biggest boat in the yard at the moment, 26 foot is the maximum. Here you can see the sunlight coming through the back of the hull. That's how thin she is, but very light, easy. Because she's so light, we can handle it in the yard, even though she's a big boat. Beautiful to sail. She is, I love her almost as much as I did well, I would say more than the Hurley 30. She's as comfortable. They're the boats that we have had on the day, and I've had on the day. Hopefully I'll be able to show you other people's boats and they can talk about them. Thank you.